And now it's time to welcome back our traveling correspondent and comedian Tom Papa in a segment we call Out in America.
Thank you, Chris. On behalf of Live From Here, I'm resuming my journey across the country, sharing the good stories of our fellow Americans. This week, I was on a road trip traveling down along the Northeast from Portland, Maine to the Long Island Sound. Fall is slowly emerging, with the leaves starting to turn and the last of summer's warmth lingering in the air. But the locals know what's coming and can be seen pulling out their snow shovels and practicing their unhappy winter faces. The first person I ran into was John, working at a hotel shining shoes. He's 86 years old and decided to spend his retirement by working at yet another job. What else am I going to do, he asked. Walk around the mall and count my steps? That sounds like the way they torture you in a Turkish prison. I headed down to the wharf looking for a lobster roll and took a seat in an outdoor cafe overlooking the water. I met a middle-aged couple who were enjoying a drink in the sun. From the playful way they interacted, I thought they were on their first date, but it turned out they'd been married for 11 years and, funny enough, still like each other. Carrie and Brian met in Portland while attending a Mini Kiss concert. Mini Kiss is a Kiss tribute band made up of all little people. Carrie said, I walked in and saw Brian across the room because we were taller than everyone else. I figured I'm wearing face makeup, he's wearing face makeup, we should make out. He squeezed her hand while she told their story. We don't go out much anymore, but we still love Kiss. She showed me a picture on her phone of Brian with a giant beer belly, dressed up in his very own Kiss costume. Carrie said, I like this picture because Brian looks like Gene Simmons if he ate one of the guys from Mini Kiss. It was time for me to take an Uber to get my rental car for the journey down the coast. I was picked up by Sean. He's 25 and has been driving for the past 3 years, ever since he lost his job at the moving company. He loves Maine, but he's not looking forward to the cold. He said that the winter was so bad last year that when spring finally came, he threw out all his long pants in protest. Now he's in trouble. He said, I saw this Survivor show on Discovery where a guy never wore shoes or pants. He trained his mitochondria with his mind to not feel the cold. Sean figures he's watched enough of the show to give it a shot, even though he's not sure how to do it or what mitochondria is. I picked up my mid-sized rental and headed down the coast along Route 95. It was a beautiful ride that ended at the Orient Point Ferry that crossed the Long Island Sound to the far eastern point of Long Island. As we pulled out into the sea, I was reminded of how beautiful the East Coast truly is, and that boats make me seasick. I hate boats. I get claustrophobic. I don't like being trapped with nowhere to go. That's why I don't go on cruises. It's like paying someone to put me in a hostage situation. Have you ever closed your eyes and held on to a railing for dear life, and when you came to, realized you were hugging a man from Bridgeport, Connecticut? I have. When we finally got to land, I found a hotel in Riverhead, New York, and slept off the nausea. Later that night, I went to a seafood restaurant and sat next to 3 white guys in their 70s who looked like retired fishermen. They wore faded jeans and washed-out T-shirts. 2 of them had messy gray hair under tattered baseball caps, and the other was as bald as a clam. Suddenly, in the corner of the bar, a woman started singing karaoke. It seemed weird in a place like this, but a crowd quickly gathered around as she belted out Me and Bobby McGee. The fishermen just scowled. As she ended to strong applause, one of the crusty old fishermen marched up to the microphone as if he was going to pull the plug on the whole affair. But then he grabbed the mic, closed his eyes, pointed at the DJ, and David Bowie's China Girl kicked in. I was in shock. Without even looking at the monitor, this gangly, old guy was killing it. He had a bar filled with people half his age, holding up their cell phones and dancing along. I looked over to his friends, but they kept right on eating buffalo wings, as if he does this all the time. He ended to a standing ovation and shuffled off, and before I knew it, his bald friend was up there. Without taking his hands out of his sweatshirt pockets, he bounced his round head from side to side, stopped, and Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer began. The entire bar lost their minds. Everyone was screaming the lyrics with beers held high as this old dude rocked out with less emotion than a plate of oysters. I never saw anything like it. A very attractive waitress was hugging the tall fisherman and showing her phone case with a picture of David Bowie on it. The bald guy was shaking hands with strangers as women squeezed him and kissed his head. Have you ever thought that you were eating in a seafood restaurant in Long Island, but had actually discovered the fountain of youth and ended up singing "I've Got You, Babe" into the eyes of a salty old fisherman? I have. And I'll definitely be back. Until next time, this has been Tom Papa, out in America.
That's Tom Papa.